The secrets of free energy, the secret space program, or the true nature of the cosmos. The governments of the world and the hidden masters of the New World Order are, at this point, the most discussed topic in the online environment and vehemently denied by the American government.
Did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really? Did you go through the secret files, the UFO documents? Because if I was president, that'd be the first thing I did.
You know, it's funny. My daughters asked the very same question.
They did?
Yeah.
Would you be allowed to tell your daughters what was in those files?
No.
You would not?
No.
Now that you're out of office, you can do anything you want, right?
True, yeah. But I'm not telling you.
It makes it increasingly less likely that we're alone.
Oh, you're trying to give me a hint that there are aliens.
No, I'm trying to tell you I don't know.
But I would like us to go into those files and hopefully make as much of that public as possible. If there's nothing there, let's tell people there's nothing there.
What if there is something there?
Well, if there is something there, unless it's a threat to national security, I think we ought to share it with the public.
The aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
As we all know, the media, still in the hands of the global evil elite, do not sweat any words about the existing technologies it owns that could pull mankind away from the crisis, but also from the fossil fuel age and the provision of free energy to mankind, thus making an enormous leap in the evolution of civilization.
A whopping $6.5 trillion of taxpayer cash have gone to defense programs, and this black budget has sparked concerns over political fraud, as Gaynor can now report.
Black budget spending, as well as the causes behind greater levels of spending at the local and national.
The so-called black budget has never been shown to the public.
Black budget began to come to light after October-November 2012 and rely primarily on the personal testimony of an insider named Daniel, who claims to have been part of the Montauk Project, which later turned into Phoenix 1, 2, and 3. These black budget projects are carefully guarded by the eyes of the public. One of the main objectives involved in these projects was the testing and development of many technologies based on Nikola Tesla's work: cold fusion, Pons and Fleischmann, nuclear energy reacts, antimatter and anti-hydrogen propulsion systems, and others. The development of these technologies has led to the creation of a secret space program that goes well beyond the scope of information NASA has chosen to publicly release in terms of the true nature of the cosmos.
Liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission to build, resupply, and to do research on the International Space Station.
Houston now controlling. Atlantis begins its penultimate journey to shore up the International Space Station.
Many of these projects are funded from the black budget, with huge sums of money, and by the global banking cartel as part of the diversion of global collateral accounts. One of the most stunning public information on the existence of this secret space program comes from the testimony of British Gary McKinnon. His story is extraordinary. From February 2001 to March 2002, McKinnon, as an independent computer system administrator, managed to gain access to the highly classified documentation of the Pentagon's computer networks. The U.S. government claims that McKinnon violated the operating law in the Defense Ministry's IT system, which posed a threat to national security.
We completely understand that Gary McKinnon stands accused of a very important and significant crime in terms of hacking into vital databases, and nobody denies that that is an important crime that has to be considered.
Well, one of the things that David and I discussed was the increasing challenge that we're going to face as a consequence of the internet and the need for us to cooperate extensively on issues of cybersecurity.
The first thing was documentation. I used a program called Land Search, a thing that once you had control over the domain, because you'd get control of domain controllers, so you own the whole network, basically. And LandSearch could actually search all the files and folders on every machine. And obviously it's hard because things aren't going to be called secret UFO data.pdf, are they? So, but I'd scan and look for documents, etc., and I found an Excel spreadsheet that was actually called, or at least in the heading of the column, it said non-terrestrial officers. And I was like, my God, that's just
non-terrestrial officers.
Non-terrestrial officers with ranks and names, and then a separate sheet with tabs for material transfer between ships. And these were, I mean, I don't remember the names now. It's a long time ago. A lot of people give me a hard time for not remembering the names and stuff, but it was a long time ago.
Right.
But non-terrestrial officers, I thought, well, it must be, let's try and cut out all the possible conventional explanations first. I searched for that term, it was nowhere. It was nowhere at all. Now if you search for the term, you only find links to me and stuff that I've said.
Right, I see.
So it wasn't a standard thing in the military at all.
Right.
So I took that to be, they must have a secret space-based.
The government tagged McKinnon as hacker and cyber terrorist. Over the years, the U.S. government has demanded the extradition of McKinnon from England. However, there was an obstacle in their plans. If he was extradited, he had the legal right to appear before a court, and there is the risk of revealing the true nature of information in the Pentagon's computer files. The existence of the Solar Warden codename given to a particular area in the secret space program. McKinnon admitted during live interviews that the government's accusations against him are being manufactured, and he has not caused any harm to the Pentagon's digital operating systems. Once the U.S. government learned about the true nature of the information over which McKinnon fined, the U.S. abandoned the accusations against him, despite the fact that the U.S. considered him a cyber terrorist.
And I only got to see about half or 2/3 of it or something, but it was a hemisphere of a planet, which I assume was Earth, because it was blue and it was cloudy. And but it was a classic cigar shape, with no seams, no rivets, no sort of workmanship on the outside. But it did have one sort of human-looking thing, which was the sort of geodesic domes that you see at Men with Hell. Above and below, to the left and the right, and one on its nose, and I assume, one on this side, and I assume one on the other side as well. So I mean, some people say that could have been man-made because of that geodesic dome feature. But the fact of it all flowed in. There was no, there's the tube, and there's a socket for the dome. It was all a flowing, But that's when I saw someone else, the mouse moved, right-clicked on the LAN icon, disconnect, and boom, that was gone.
If these black-budget technologies were released in the world and properly funded, in a generation or even less, we would see the complete end of fossil fuels, oil, coal, natural gas, and even nuclear energy that would be replaced by Tesla electromagnetism, anti-gravity and anti-hydrogen systems, and much more. This would remove national boundaries and limits and eliminate the need for control structures of any kind, including governments. We also enter a new era of travel in the universe, through which we as human beings move beyond the planetary boundaries and our solar system.
To seek out new life forms and new civilizations. To boldly go where no one has gone.
Exchange technology and experience with the civilizations of the universe. But when it is considered that the ramifications of these things, for those who hold power today in this world, secret societies, bankers, fossil fuel companies, etc., become dangerous for their control over the planet, they will go very far in their actions.
Oh my God,
For that these technologies are never made available to the public, and disclosure of the true nature of the cosmos is a well-guarded secret. McKinnon was charged by the Bush administration for having committed the biggest military computer hack of all time, facing prison time up to 70 years after extradition from the UK.
In March of 2002, I was arrested for hacking into Army, Navy, and Air Force computers, as well as the Pentagon and NASA. The arresting officers from the National High-Tech Crime Unit, which is now part of SOCA, the Serious Organized Crime Agency, told me that I'd probably do 6 months community service. This turned out to be a highly inaccurate prediction. My arresting officers went to Washington and met with some top brass to discuss my case, and also to illegally hand over my hard drive to US authorities, which they're still in possession of. The police officers were obviously very impressed by the military officers they met, because when they returned from Washington and interviewed me for the second time, they had a very serious tone about them. It was a very different ball game by then. The second interview was in the summer of 2002, in August, I think. And in November of the same year, the US authorities announced that they intended to extradite me to stand trial in America. And on paper, at least, I was facing 70 years in jail, which was a far cry from 6 months community service.
However, trying McKenna in an open court would involve his testifying to the above classified facts, and his attorney would be able to subpoena government officers to testify under oath about the U.S. space fleet. To date, the extradition of McKinnon to the U.S. has not been enforced. McKinnon allegedly discovered information about the craft within Solar Warden. It is said that there are approximately 8 cigar-shaped motherships, each longer than 2 football fields end to end, and 43 small scout ships.
Among the things I found, there was an Excel spreadsheet entitled Non-Terrestrial Officers, which I took to be a space-going fleet made of human personnel, not aliens. It did list their names, I couldn't find them on the internet at the time. There was also a list of ships, and I googled the ship names, and there were no matches. So I knew there weren't ocean-going vessels.
The Solar Warden Space Fleet operates under Air Force Space Command. There are at least 300 personnel involved at this facility. Solar Warden is said to be made up of U.S. aerospace black projects contractors, with some contributions of parts and systems by Canada, also United Kingdom, Italy, Austria, Russia, and Australia. It is also said that the program is tested and operated from secret Air Force bases, such as Area 51 in Nevada, USA. Another newer version of the definition and description of Solar Warden is that it isn't the Earth's interstellar space program itself. That is called the SOC. But Solar Warden is in fact the name of a research project that would create sunspots and send the solar waves to directional nodes in space, which in turn aim the solar waves at targets like a rogue asteroid or an alien spacecraft that had flown into our solar system unannounced, without permission, and with hostile intentions. After years of fighting in court for having illegally accessed NASA's computers, the hacker is talking about the findings he has made at the time. McKinnon told the judges and the press that he found evidence of technologies of alien origin, the existence of energy capable of stopping the global warming process, anti-gravity devices, and, above all, the existence of a real stellar fleet capable of driving huge distances across cosmic space.
Interestingly, some of the names of these ships were people allegedly involved in Majestic 12. If there was a secret space program, and if it has anything to do with back-engineering crashed alien spacecraft, then those MJ-12 people are exactly the ones you would expect to find name-checked in this way.
Secrecy associated with MJ-12, in my judgment, has permitted us to spend a huge amount of money, trillions of dollars. My more recent conclusion is that some of the trillions of dollars of money have been used to take the technology we have discovered and build gravity-controlled devices that we would see sometimes as UFOs. So if you look in the sky now, in my opinion, it's 50-50 chance that it's ours versus theirs.
Gary McKinnon thinks he has found enough evidence to assert that the Americans have a secret space program run by the Navy, that is, spaceships. According to metro.co.uk, all the details are reported in an ample interview with Rich Planet TV, known for its UFO programs. We used a program called LandSearch to help us access all the tabs and folders. There, we found an Excel file named Non-Terrestrial Officers, the officers from outside the Earth. The file contained names and ranks, and material transfers were specified between ships, and the name of the spacecraft began with the USS.
Oh no, they were all like this. I used that one single method to gain entry to the places I got into.
Right, and are you allowed to say which other places you got into, or?
Well, I'll say it was the Army, the Navy, and NASA, and the Pentagon.
Right, right. And were they all on separate banks of IP addresses, each of those that you just mentioned?
Oh yeah, completely separate blocks.
Right, so you knew whether you were trying to access NASA or Pentagon or Army, Navy, they were all in completely different IP ranges.
Yeah, but once you're in there, it can get a bit confusing, because once you start exploring, there's attached networks, other networks, private networks, and in the end, you're not really sure where you are after a while.
Right.
But what evidence would McKenna have found? Alien visits hidden to the public because the space images were altered to the NASA Johnson Space Center. Here, for example, UFOs were taken out of the photographs.
I double-clicked on this image, and it was coming down very slowly, but I could see this tubular, a classic cigar-shaped UFO, with these kind of geodesic domes, like half a golf ball stuck on top and underneath. And I'm just amazed, because I've found real evidence of what I thought was a UFO, although it could have been a secret spaceship, who knows. But there it was in front of me, coming down the screen. And then suddenly I saw the mouse move across the screen, right-click the LAN icon and choose disconnect, and lost the chance to fully transfer the photo to my machine. So it was a eureka moment, but also, they got me.
McKinnon found on NASA's servers a high-definition image of a large cigar-like object floating above the northern hemisphere. When he hacked the U.S. Army servers, McKinnon discovered a diary of all non-terrestrial officers, proof that the U.S. Army had a secret battalion in space. Some of the U.S. ships are called USSS LeMay or USSS Hillenkoetter, USSS coming from the United States spaceship, the U.S. Space Shuttle. McKinnon said, "I found a list of officers in the non-terrestrial officer section. This does not mean aliens, but the fact that they are not based on Earth. They were serving a fleet that were not American Navy ships, but spaceships away from our planet."
Gary ended up being the first person to uncover tangible proof of these programs through his hacking. Interestingly enough, the information he obtained on the different types of spacecraft, the non-terrestrial officers, fleet-to-fleet transfers, all of this perfectly coincided with Project Solar World.
On April 13, 2009, the U.S. National Archives of Administration provided nearly 250,000 pages of documents during the Reagan administration, including its personal journal. In this, on 11 June 1985, the president wrote, "We have lunch with 5 top scientists in the field of aerospace. It was fascinating. Space is really the last frontier, and some of the developments there in astronomy are science fiction unless they are real. Learned that our transfer capacity is such that we could put 300 people in orbit. This is curious because Space Shuttle has a maximum of 8 people and only 5 for spaceflight. Even fully loaded, it would be impossible to place and maintain 300 astronauts in orbit."
Currently, in the secret space programs, we've been dealing with approximately 60 different non-terrestrial groups that have come here And some of those groups are interacting with the governments of the world right now.
But I would like us to go into those files and hopefully make as much of that public as possible. If there's nothing there, let's tell people there's nothing there.
What if there is something there?
Well, if there is something there, unless it's a threat to national security, I think we ought to share it with the public.
Well, did you look? Did you see? Did you explore?
I can't reveal anything.
Oh, really?
You did. You know, it's funny. My daughters asked the very same question.
They did?
Yeah.
Would you be allowed to tell your daughters what was in those files?
No.
You would not?
No.
Now that you're out of office, you can do anything you want, right?
True, yeah. But I'm not telling you.
It's at
The aliens won't let it happen. You reveal all their secrets. They exercise strict control over us.
Reagan has revealed the existence of a highly classified space program that could host hundreds of astronauts in orbit.